The Oklahoma Plains. What do you think when you hear that? You probably think of a small herd of cattle grazing. But this has not always been the picture. In the 1500s, it's believed that the bison numbers between 30 and 60 million, stretching from North Carolina and Florida all the way to Alaska. However, in 1884, there were only 325 bison left in the United States. The main food source for tens of thousands of Native Americans was nearly killed off to make room for railroads, European cattle, and European settlers. But the bison plays such a key role in the plains environment, and it's a much more friendly predecessor than the cattle we raise today. In 2020, there's an estimated 94.4 million cattle raised in the United States. Not only do these cattle drastically outnumber the amount of buffalo that once roamed, but they also have a much bigger negative effect on the environment. It's true. You can put a herd of buffalo on a rain-packed bare field in West Texas with nothing to thrive off of but hay and water. And those buffalo would break apart the soil and stir it with their hooves, instead of compacting it like cattle would. They would also bring in fertility through manure and urine, and their hooves would begin stepping in the seeds from the hay. But bison are also excellent pollinators. Their coats would bring in all sorts of seeds. So those seeds would also be pressed in the soil, and they begin to grow from the manure and urine that the bison put in the soil. Not only can bison restore grasslands from compacted soil, but they also provide food for hundreds of birds put out from manure and urine. And when the grass seeds grow tall that the buffalo planted, it will provide a stable ecosystem with food and protection for rabbits and grasshoppers, which will then become food for the eagle, hawk, or coyote. But this is not the only reason why buffalo are a much more friendly predecessor when compared to cattle. Buffalo graze pastures evenly when compared to cattle. I noticed this firsthandly when I was walking through my pasture, deciding when I was going to move my cattle from one pasture to the next. What I saw was a huge difference in grazing patterns compared to my cattle from the buffalo from the ranch I worked on. Cattle overgraze areas near water and shade. The grass near the water and shade may be ate to the ground, but the grass 800 meters away can be 6 inches tall of thick, protein-packed Bermuda, and cattle would still overgraze near water and shade. And they also have a negative effect on the cleanliness and biodiversity of those environments. But buffalo utilize the whole pasture. They typically don't overgraze one area more than the other, which spreads their manure and urine all over the pasture, not only in one targeted area. Cattle and buffalo eat about 24 pounds of grass a day. Both enjoy big native grasses such as big bluestem. You can purchase bluestem seeds through your North Cattle Conservation District. But cattle like bluestem so much that they typically overgraze that part of the pasture more than the rest. Now, if that bluestem patch is near water and shade, we would have a huge environmental mess in our hands. There is a downfall to buffalo, however. They take about 2.5 years to reach their mature stage. Meanwhile, cattle reach it in 2. In the eyes of a businessman, we would raise cattle because they grow faster. But through the eyes of a steward of the land, we would see a dishonorment to the land. The land we live for, the land we would stand and fight for. We worked hard for that land. We are taught as stewards of the land that the land is our legacy. So why would we destroy that land by letting the cattle graze it rather than the buffalo? Now I can stand here and preach to you about the good that the buffalo do and how they were way more beneficial. But I still raise cattle, just like most other farmers and ranchers. But did you know buffalo usually sell more per pound than cattle do? Most people see cattle every day, whether it's on the way to school, work, or church. But how often do you see a buffalo? Some people may have never seen a buffalo, but that's for good reasoning. Buffalo are only at 350,000 head. That's about 1% of their previous numbers. But these numbers come through over 150 years of hard conservation. Conservation that was so hard fought that in 2016, the buffalo became the national mammal of the United States of America. But we shouldn't just settle for this. We still need to push conservation, not only for the sake of the buffalo, but for this grand land we call home.